13 News Now at 11 begins with breaking news. Newport News police are investigating a homicide at Menchville High School. They say someone shot and killed a teen boy in the parking lot after a basketball game. Sarah Hammond is at the scene live gathering details. And Sarah, what are you hearing?
Yeah, David, we're here in this parking lot. There's still a lot of police here, looking for evidence and searching the property now. The crime scene tape is still up, and this all apparently happened shortly after a basketball game ended. Menchville High was playing Woodside High tonight, and once it ended, police say a fight broke out in this parking lot. Shots were fired and a teen boy was hit. Officers rendered aid when they got here, but he did die here at the scene. Right now, we don't know anything about a suspect or if that victim was a student. And we've also just learned that school has been called off for both Menchville and Woodside tomorrow, but faculty is still to report at 7 a.m. For now, live in Newport News, Sarah Hammond, 13 News Now.
All right, we're going to continue staying there and following the story. Stay with us for any updates. This is a second shooting at a Newport News school this year. In September, a 15-year-old student opened fire inside Heritage High. 2 teens were hurt in that shooting, but have since recovered. Now to even more breaking news. This in Suffolk. Police are investigating a homicide. Officers found 22-year-old Trayvon Lewis shot on Burnett's Way just before 8. That's near Sentara Obici Hospital. He died at the scene, and still no word at this hour on any suspects, but police have shut down several roads while they investigate, but those have since reopened. New at 11 tonight, Norfolk City Council decided the fate of Culture Lounge and Restaurant. It's been the center of controversy for weeks. Community members and neighboring business owners grew concerned over crime surrounding the nightclub. Sarah Hammond has that story.
Tuesday night, one of Culture Nightclub's owners pleaded with Norfolk City Council not to revoke their nightclub permit. This comes after concerns about crime in and around the club on Granby Street.
We're being looked at as if we're outside shooting. We're outside doing something wrong.
Attorney Kevin Martingale is representing the club. He says the claim that what happens outside of their club is their responsibility is ridiculous.
We don't have guns and badges. We're not in charge of the streets or sidewalks. What do you want us to do?
But Assistant City Attorney Catherine Taylor argued that when they were first granted the conditional use permit, that's what they agreed to.
That permit is not just about what goes on behind the doors in a business, but what goes on outside those doors.
And she says the responsible thing would be to revoke the permit.
To say that they're not responsible for what happens outside of their business is to say they don't care about the community and neighborhood.
But Martingale says the crime and gun problem isn't specific to Norfolk or the club, and the solution isn't to punish businesses, but to work with them.
You've got a successful black-owned business operating on Granby Street, doing the best they can.
In the end, Culture decided to surrender their permit instead of letting council revoke it. That way, they're allowed to operate as a restaurant starting in 7 days. But for now, they're allowed to continue operating as a nightclub for the next week. In Norfolk, Sarah Hammond, 13 News Now.
If Culture didn't surrender their permit and council voted to revoke it, the nightclub would not have been allowed to operate in any capacity for 6 months. A Hampton mother faces up to 55 years behind bars after confessing she killed her 2-year-old son. Julia Tomlin pleaded guilty today to murder, abuse, and neglect, along with hiding her son Noah's body. She reported him missing in June of 2019. Days later, police found the little boy's body at the Hampton Steam Plant. Prosecutors call it a case of extreme child abuse and said Noah suffered from injuries long before he died. Noah's grandfather says there's one thing today's plea doesn't do.
Justice. He can never come back. Justice would be if he was alive, but since that can't happen, I guess this is the best we got.
Tomlin is set to be sentenced in March. The prosecution today also decided not to move forward with several other child neglect charges. They say that's not because of a plea agreement, but because of a lack of case law. Things are almost back to normal for a Chesapeake neighborhood tonight. Police shut down the area surrounding Sparrow Road for hours while executing a search warrant this afternoon. Our crew saw police officers, a bomb squad truck, even the FBI. Now, the FBI won't tell us the nature of that warrant just yet. A robbery gone wrong in Virginia Beach. Police say 2 men shot and killed a woman at a Harris Teeter gas station last night near the Haygood Shopping Center. 65-year-old Ann Smith died at the scene. People who work in the area told us they heard the shots. One man says he's never seen anything like this in the area.
Very surprising, very surprising. I've never felt any concern for my safety at all. Even leaving at night when it's dark, you know, it's lit, we got lights there. Certainly at the gas station, it's well lit up, and there's an attendant there as well.
The 2 suspects are still out there tonight. Police say they got away with a gray Lexus that was stolen from another city. Officers eventually did find that car. If you have information that could help investigators with any of these cases, call the crime line. The number is right there on your screen, 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP, and you can remain anonymous. Search and rescue efforts drag on after dozens of twisters tore through the Midwest. 44 tornadoes touched down in 9 states over the weekend. The death toll is now 88, and that number keeps climbing. Most of the deaths are in Kentucky. This is now the deadliest tornado outbreak in more than a decade. President Biden is set to visit the hardest hit areas tomorrow. And tonight we're hearing an incredible survival story out of Kentucky. A Virginia Beach native and her family are recovering after a tornado destroyed their home in Mayfield. Jessica Cook, her husband Charles, and their 4 kids were found more than 100 yards away from where their house once stood. Jessica is still unconscious with a traumatic brain injury. She was 28 weeks pregnant. Doctors performed an emergency C-section. Her daughter, Anna Joy, was born weighing 2 pounds, 6 ounces. And that's not all. Family members tell us Jessica's oldest son, Daniel, was the first to wake up after the storm.
So he's the one that rummaged through the rubble and the trash and found all of his brothers and found his parents. And dude ran up the street with a broken foot and found help.
The family told us Daniel was set to leave the hospital today. Jessica is slowly progressing and will soon have another surgery. Several local groups are on the ground in Kentucky. Members of Virginia Task Force 2 are helping with search efforts at a candle factory where several workers are still missing. Mercy Chefs from Portsmouth is serving survivors and first responders hot meals. Volunteers from Operation Blessing in Virginia Beach have been sending supplies. Another loaded truck set out for Bowling Green today. If you're thinking, we don't hear a lot about bad tornadoes in December, well, you're wrong. They're less common in colder months. Brandon Lewis with the Verify team found out just how rare they are.
Verify here with your Fast Fact. The cleanup continues in parts of the Midwest and South after a massive tornado caused widespread damage. Several people wondered on social media if it's rare to see a tornado outbreak in December, since tornado season is usually in the spring. So let's verify. Is it rare for there to be a severe tornado outbreak in December? These are our sources. The U.S. averages about 1,200 tornadoes a year, and since they require warm, moist air to form, they're more common in the spring. That doesn't mean they can't happen in the winter. On average, about 24 tornadoes occur in December, usually in the deep south, where the weather is still warmer, although most are nowhere near the strength of the tornado that hit last week.
In December, it's very, very uncommon, almost unprecedented.
A weather report archivist found there were more tornado warnings issued on December 10th than on any other December day since at least 2001. So it's true. It's rare for there to be a severe tornado outbreak in December. With your Fast Fact, I'm Brandon Lewis.